Hello everyone, and welcome to your Pathway to Cybersecurity, an information session presented by IT Masters on behalf of Charles Sturt University. We're intending to demystify some of your options for getting into a terrifying and therefore exciting discipline. So thank you for joining us. Slide. All right, so my name is Guy Coward. I work as a student support officer for IT Masters, and essentially I'll be sharing with you what I've learned through hundreds of hours tailoring cybersecurity study plans for students, including credit assessments, subject selection, moral support, and course advice, whatever there is going, as well as what I've learned from quite popular free online short courses, which I'm sure a lot of you have come along to. I just want to make it clear from the outset that I'm not an IT expert, but I think I have a pretty decent handle on who wants to study our courses. I'm joined by the lovely and talented Hannah and Yeslam. Hannah is our chief short course producer these days and marketing officer, and chips in with admissions administration. She'll be looking after the chat for this webinar and is no doubt asking you to keep everyone in the loop in there right now. Yeslam is the Charles Sturt University Cybersecurity course director. He helped develop and now reviews arguably Australia's most focused postgraduate cybersecurity course. His experience ranges from the dozens of hours putting up with my annoying being a general thorn in his side to his Master of IT and PhD from Charles Sturt University, and there's a couple of his research interests there. Have a look at them there. There's some really interesting stuff. He focuses mostly on ICT ethics and social networking sites. We'll be hearing his thoughts a little bit later. Thanks, Rebecca. So just a brief rundown. We're aiming for this webinar to run for about half an hour with Q&A as long as you're all engaged after that. Really, I'm happy to stay all night. There are no obligations to stick around, but we hope you'll keep your interest, and we hope we'll keep your interest in that you have a couple of questions for the more interactive parts of the session. If you need to go, no worries. As you can see here, all registrants will receive the webinar recording, the slide deck, important contact details, and some optional further reading within 24 hours. We clearly use Zoom for our webinars and absolutely encourage the use of chat and Q&A during this session. In my experience, these informal channels augment the resources available, and I really hope your insights will add to the discussion. For all general comments, just post them in the chat box for everyone to listen to, and for any questions or different perspectives and different thoughts based on your experience, I'd love those in the form of a question in the Q&A platform. For those who are new to IT Masters broadly, welcome. We partner exclusively with Charles Sturt University to collaboratively develop and deliver postgraduate IT and IT adjacent courses like management and project management. Thank you, Rebecca. All right, so I want to make the case for cybersecurity broadly today as its own reward. Talk about how academic institutions can help filling labour shortages and the benefits of studying with IT Masters and Charles Sturt University. So I just want to run through a few points about those three that taken together I think will validate what you either know or feel about how useful getting into cybersecurity would be. Then, armed with that confidence, we can look at a few common career pathways, as well as some of the next steps to take for pathways into study. I hope to convince you that formal study is not so much an obstacle to clear, but a support mechanism for getting you where you want to go. Thanks. So all of that will be based on a general theme of me hoping to change some perceptions, and not for everyone, but for some people, about getting a job in cybersecurity from being something that you've always wanted to do when circumstances permit to something that is a realistic and specific goal you're already working towards. And if there's three things I want you to take away from this session, it's probably these three here. First and clearly most important, I think, is that your existing strengths are far more important than what you think you lack. So many people believe that they need to have coding or whatever it is to get into cybersecurity, but the expansion and diversity of cybersecurity roles, the proliferation of jobs out there allows us to tailor your pathway to your strengths as you sort of build on them. And of course, there's no one way to start. You can you can get it anyway, and I hope to talk about some of those ways now. I'll leave this slide up while I test some assumptions I've made about who is attending. I've got a poll here, and so it's basically just trying to figure out who's here and how to get the most out of tonight's session. So which category most accurately describes you? You should be able to see that now. I work in IT and want to transition into a security role. I've always wanted to work in IT, and I might as well start now in security. I haven't always wanted to work in IT, but think security is a great career choice. I already work in IT security, and I'm here searching for nuggets of gold. No love for just loving the IT masters and turning up to all the free content. Oh, there we go. We've got one person there, and something not captured by the other options. We've got the overwhelming majority working in IT and wanting to transition into a security role. That's really handy. Or I've always, and there's a decent percentage of I've always wanted to work in IT and might as well start now. So I'll end that poll and share the results for you to have a look at. And that's pretty much what we thought it. Maybe a little bit more than I thought, wanting to transition from an existing IT role into a security role, but still it'll be really useful for today. Thank you. Okay, slide. Excellent. So assumptions somewhat confirmed. Let's continue and begin with the case for, doing cybersecurity generally. You wouldn't be here if you weren't keen and aware of the advantages that a career in cybersecurity can provide, but I just want to codify the case to some extent. First, I want any education IT Masters provides to be its own reward, short course or paid course. And cybersecurity absolutely fits that criteria. I think it's a really interesting field just from any perspective, whether you like dreaming about technical possibilities, ruminate on the way IT influences business or political decision making, or just sort of seeing what you can learn and do as you develop. I hope you can see the intangible benefits engaging with cybersecurity allows. Second, we all know how much governments and businesses at all levels in Australia are worried about skills and labour shortages in cybersecurity. I think the important point here isn't the number of applicants, but the dearth of job-ready candidates. A lot of the articles that you read, about how many jobs we're short. We have enough people who want the jobs. It's just they're not ready. I think the sensible thing to do, of course, would be to resource organisations properly and build the skill sets as circumstances require. But we're a bit behind the eight ball broadly, so we need to play catch up. IT Masters and CSU can help in that regard. Third, the risks are real and absolutely not going away anytime soon. I think the concept of malicious actors is a bit of a loaded one, but why these risks exist is a bit of a moot point. They're there. We need to deal with the horse that has already bolted before getting to fix the gate. And just on punk kids, my little section of risks, I recommend looking up a kid called Ruben Paul. He's terrifying and wholesome, and it just makes me quite uncertain about where we'll all end up. He's got all of this ability, and it's just a question of who gets in touch with him first, and so many people like him. But I'll leave you to make your own conclusions about that one, and all of those punk kids out there. Thank you, Rebecca. So, like being clear about what we're talking about, I think should help in developing clarity about what outcome you would like from engaging in cybersecurity. I think this definition is useful, with 2 comments added. Cybersecurity is the combination of people, policies, processes, and technologies employed by an enterprise to protect its cyber assets. Cybersecurity is optimized to levels that business leaders define, balancing the resources required with usability and manageability and the amount of risk offset. Subsets of cybersecurity include IT security, Internet of Things security, information security, and operations technology security. So the 2 points I want to make are that it's not just business leaders defining this now, if it ever was. It's every level of society. And I also want to say that as technological capabilities grow, the risk to all levels of society grows. I've seen a few sources that suggest Moore's law about, the doubling of transistors and the halving of cost can be applied to security. No idea if that's in any way useful, but in concrete terms, but I think it's useful as a way to conceptualize, the point I'm making. The risks are definitely expanding. Thanks. But you know, the important question I think is, what does that mean for you today? Basically, I think it just means landing a job in security is a safe bet for you know, career security. This table lists the roles available on Seek just a couple of days ago. There are lots of jobs out there in heaps of domains of IT, which represent some point on what I think is a continuum of cybersecurity activities and responsibilities. You know, every job in IT should be, in some respect, about cybersecurity. As this slide suggests, there are roles appropriate for all experience levels. But you know, it's 2020, the year of the COVID and the year of the golden rat. So there's lots of applicants out there. The task is ensuring that you're in the running and ensuring that people are ready to go once they've got the job. Thanks, Rebecca. And that means for better or worse, real consideration of university qualifications. The screen grab on the right is I think, pretty emblematic of job requirements. It's a fairly advanced operational role that I found on Seek, but all but the entry-level roles require something similar. So the lesson is not that it is impossible to get gigs without a degree, but that in considering whether to make the jump in a new career direction, being realistic about what sort of sacrifices are possible is important. Most of the people I talk to aren't in a position to take a backward step to go forward long term. So we need to find workarounds. Again, here the points are fairly simple, but worth making explicit. If you aren't able to sacrifice time and money with an entry-level role, you'll need a degree to prevent your application being discarded without consideration. If you need a degree quickly, then it's better to do a grad cert than a bachelor degree, as you can complete it in 6 months. In my experience, the bachelor gives a broad foundation, which is useful, but time is definitely a consideration for career changes. And half the jobs out there will probably preference postgraduate studies anyway in their sorting processes. So which is best depends on your context and objectives. And you know, that's the important bit. So there's clear evidence of a return on investment in any case. So I think that's just a no-brainer, but we'll include some info on that in the follow-up email that we send tomorrow. Thank you. Now's a good time to bring the expert in. We've got Yeslam Al-Saggaf, the course director. Hello, Yeslam.
Hello, everyone. Good to be with you.
Yeah, well, it's been a real pleasure to work with Yeslam for the last few years. And I've just got a couple of questions for you, Yeslam. Can you please give attendees a brief overview of why we integrate academic subjects and applied industry subjects?
A good question. I'm glad you asked, Guy. As they say, great minds think alike. I remember I was a student more than 20 years ago, and 21 years to be exact. And I was sitting in the class, and Irfan, our head of school, he thought, you know, you don't have to do our subject. You could just get this certification and you'll be done with it. And at the same time, at that time, IT Master's CEO, Martin Hale, had the same idea. Let's benefit from both worlds, academia and the industry. So you have academics who are expert in the areas they teach, conduct research in those areas, and go to conferences that talk about those research areas with like-minded academics. And on the other hand, you have industry experts whose day-to-day job is those areas. They work and they know the technology and how it works. And so just fantastic to be able to share their experience rather than looking at notes like what academics do. That's the idea of combining the best of both worlds, Guy.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I think just one of the best features of the course as well is the extent to which it focuses on specialized IT security skills and theory, as opposed to, you know, subjects that aren't specifically about security. How, and I guess more importantly, why did you ensure that happened?
We have an advisory body. The most important thing for us is that the course is 100% cybersecurity. And of course, we also want to meet the fundamental knowledge in computing in general. So we have things that resonate with the ACS body of knowledge, the Sophia skills. And in that sense, we are capturing the theoretical component of the course. But at the same time, the course is needing to focus also on skill development. So this is where then the industry side comes in. The most important thing in that sense is that we focus on the most important industry certifications. So you notice that the course is split half academic and half industry. So those skills areas are captured by those subjects that are developed around those industry certifications.
Well, I think you did a good job anyway, so thank you. We'll hear more from Yeslam at the Q&A section. I'd love to hear some stories about your research and some of the subjects, if that's okay, later, Yeslam. Alrighty, so yeah, I suspect that the most valuable benefit of IT Masters being involved with CSU or Charles Sturt for students is the way we can take our understanding of these courses, the industry broadly, and with the right practices, your goals and objectives to tailor a sustainable study plan. I think adult education generally doesn't take advantage of opportunities enough to communicate the best option within each course for a particular student. It might sound a bit like a simple thing to do, but it really isn't. And I guess, my study with IT Masters, we pride ourselves on making sure it gets done. Thank you. So that's the major benefit, but certainly not the only one. This is a list of qualities that are, again, easy to say, we do this, and I expect all universities would say that they do. But I reckon it's actually very difficult to do these things well. I'll talk about these generally now, and then later we'll run through a few examples. Entry into a grad cert without a degree or industry background, whichever group of people you put yourself in during the poll earlier, you'll be eligible for entry into postgraduate study. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, if you do have any bachelor's degree, you can start with a master's, but if you don't, then you can start with a graduate certificate, which is simply the first 4 subjects of the master's, and a particularly good idea if you're looking at jumping in, like we're talking about here, starting something new or transitioning careers. Crucially, you don't actually need experience in security roles or even IT to enter. All universities at the moment are pretty desperate for students at the moment to cover the loss of international students. So don't worry about getting in. However, jamming people into a course without putting in place the support students need is just setting people up for failure and pretty irresponsible, I think. That's where our free short courses come in. They help build confidence, a resource library, and a foundation for success for people with limited relevant experience. It's also where processes ensuring we know where our students are at when they begin, helps us choose the right subjects at the right time for the outcome the student is seeking. We can set you up, with the overview subjects and perhaps some theoretical subjects to help you get the most out of the technical and practical subjects later. A non-technical background is absolutely not a handicap. In fact, I really value getting people from other contexts into our subjects. What those of you listening might lack in experience is outweighed by the different perspectives and insights you bring into the class, and the different applications that IT can have in different industries. And often you won't need to unlearn things. So if you can bring the time and passion, that'll be more than enough, I think. For those of you with a bit of IT or other professional experience, we can help you get recognition of your previous efforts with our credit program, and I'll talk a lot about that later. I won't talk too much about certification here, just because of who is listening, but I will say that when people ask whether certification or education is better, I think it's a false dichotomy. Anything you can do that builds skills, knowledge, and confidence would be viewed favorably by any employer. And if you are just starting out, it might be worth studying with mentors before paying for certifications and courses. If you go down the certification track, you'll probably get credit for it if you want to study. But if you just focus on one, I reckon you'll reach a ceiling pretty quickly, as the job ad a couple of slides ago suggests. It wanted a bachelor degree and it wanted some certification. Finally, for this slide, who knows what's around the corner these days? It's a crazy and sad time. I hope you're all okay. I'm glad you're with us. I want you to know that just because you might be able to do something now doesn't mean you can't, very quickly change how you study later. You can make a plan, but our flexible and understanding support team can help you change it if, for example, you get a job, or you lose a job, or you just simply want to study more or less for whatever reason. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, so hopefully you're all raring to go now and have some awareness of some of the tools that we can help you with. I want to show you some examples now of how to either get job ready in 6 months, or get the new job and learn on the go, depending on where and how you want to enter the industry or transition to more security responsibilities if you already work in IT. Whoever you are, it's absolutely possible to have a finished graduate certificate in cybersecurity by February. So here's how. Thanks. Let's start with those of you with no experience. You can start a master's degree via the graduate certificate pathway. Be under no illusions, you will need to work to do a bit of catch up, but you can do that with our short courses library to ensure you hit the ground running. And you can see on the right in the graphic there, you've got the free short courses that will ease you into the special intake, which is coming up in a few weeks, the term 1, which I'll show you about later. That'll get you into the graduate certificate pathway, and then you can consolidate with a grad cert, or you can go straight into the masters, whatever works best for you. And we'll talk about that as you study. No point locking yourself into anything. Got to be flexible. Thanks, Becca. So many of these short courses are truncated versions of subjects we deliver in the paid courses. The platform is different, but the methodology is the same, all online delivery with webinars augmented by other resources. The short courses are grouped on the right here by the course they most closely match. Generally, I just simply say follow your interests and do the courses that seem most interesting to you, particularly for people with existing IT knowledge. For those with very limited IT knowledge, though, I really strongly recommend signing up for 3. I'm just going to put them in the chat now. I'll send you some links if I can do it on the fly. Oh, good, it worked. All right. Okay. So yeah, I really recommend starting with these 3. Computer network fundamentals and cybersecurity fundamentals are based on really excellent vendor-neutral certifications from CompTIA, Network Plus and Security Plus. And they'll prepare you either for your first subject that you should be doing in our courses, in the cybersecurity course, naturally enough, cybersecurity fundamentals, or for the very popular choices they are for people's first IT industry certifications. They should be available in the chat link, though, in the chat. Ooh, maybe not. Aha, I should set my chat to all panelists and attendees. God, practice what you preach, guy. There we go. Anyway, hope that helps. Of course, these aren't a prescription, just a suggestion. If you can demonstrate your knowledge already, choose your favorite courses, subjects, certifications, whatever you want to do. Thanks, Rebecca. As to whether to try for jobs immediately or wait until you do a grad cert, that depends a bit on what you need and want. You can absolutely apply for some of these more entry-level jobs, the first 4 listed there, and consolidate in a workplace as you learn. Hopefully get them to sponsor you for some industry certifications and earn credit, and who knows, maybe even get them to pay for subjects as you pass them. If the entry-level jobs would be too much of a sacrifice in the short term in terms of salary or whatever, and this goes for those in the IT existing career change people as well, then you can study in your current context in preparation for where you want and need to go, and change direction when it suits applying for jobs requiring more preparation. The basic structure would be the same though. Do the short courses that would most help if you want to. Target subjects in your course that fill the gaps in knowledge and skill you need to for your desired role, hopefully with a little bit of help from student support, and then execute the plan. It's hopefully fairly simple. Thanks. Then there are the turbochargers, and sorry, it's a terrible word, but anyway, for you, like the world is your oyster. If you're in security already, I'd just focus on maximizing credits towards a master and building the career. You can still set a goal of completing a grad cert in 6 months, just to pad it out. And you can see, as I was talking about earlier, these are the, if you were to apply for term 1, you could do your first subject here, and then go into session 3, finalize the last do another 2 subjects, get a short course credit, and you have yourself a grad cert by the end of February. Yeah, so you can see the term intakes, they're fundamental subjects in them. So they might not be appropriate for everyone listening, but you likely have a good chance of getting more credit if that applies to you. So yeah, for all of you, you can get 1 credit from completing 3 short courses. Just then enroll, and then do the last 2 subjects in the November session. It's a decent workload, but you can also do it slower if you wish, of course. As I said, it's about being flexible and making sure we do the right thing according to the goals. Thanks, Rebecca. So whichever pathway works for you, there's going to be good subjects or subjects that you should choose based on your current context. If you're sort of new to IT, then I would absolutely recommend doing subjects like information security, cybersecurity fundamentals, and then just that'll give you the really strong platform to build on. If you're already got a fair bit of knowledge, then it makes all then you can avoid the subjects that might be a bit basic or something that you already really know, and then you can focus on maybe working towards a specific cybersecurity role that you're interested in. If you want to be working cloud security, you can do architecting cloud solutions, cloud privacy and security, and cloud computing. Or if you want to look at subjects that'll help you do perhaps cybersecurity management certifications down the track, like the CISP or CISM, you can do subjects like professional system security here, or where's the CISM one? That's yeah, cybersecurity management, of course. Yeah, so those ones, like whatever the goal is, we can pair the subjects. The important thing is just to get in touch and make sure that you're having these conversations, so we can make sure that you don't get in your own way for either credit or doing subjects that aren't going to maximize the benefit of doing the course. Thanks, Rebecca. So there's plenty of avenues to credit for those of you who are looking at who are already working in IT. There's a very good chance, I think, that you would be able to get credit. And I'll give you a couple of examples now. So broadly, there's 4 ways. I say 4 ways to get credit, either for existing certifications, for recognition of your experience and we can do that through ACS. It's a relatively new development where they certify you as a professional at a certain level, and then we can sort of backwards engineer that and turn that into a credit for experience. It's very difficult to measure experience generally, so it's pretty useful that someone else has sort of codified it for us. As I mentioned, there's short course credit, and if you've already got some IT study, particularly at postgrad level, then you can very often get credit for that. That's just a credit assessment away, and I'll take you through some of the links to how to get that credit assessment done. Has anyone got any certifications they're interested in or already have? Just chuck it in the chat right now, and we'll have a look at whether there's any credits going around. But for example, all right, so Leonard's gone CISP and CISM. CISM, if you complete CISM, then that means that you have subject ITE 533 cybersecurity management in the bag. You don't need to do it. CISP, on the other hand, we really rate just the amount of effort required to earn that certification. Makes sense that you get lots of credits for it. So there's 3 credits for that one. We'll talk more about certifications in the question and answer. So I'd be very happy to talk with everyone about where they're at and what subjects they might think about getting credit for. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, so these are just some prompts to guide you in plotting your pathway and targeting the best opportunities for you. I reckon you should just ask yourself what your strengths are now and what you would like them to be in the future, particularly for those with perhaps not much IT background. There are no wrong answers or hard rules, just general principles that are worth keeping in mind. As it says here, we can help with these discussions, and in any case, this should help, I think, with formalizing a goal to work towards. For those of you already in the biz, target a specific area Think about whether you want to be a cybersecurity manager or, you know, a high-flying consultant. Drill down what you want, and then we can find you the subjects that'll make it most likely that you get there. So yeah, I just invite you to reflect on that later. Thanks, Rebecca. So I guess, you know, what next? It depends on you. And depends where you're at. We'll have a Q&A session soon, so chuck any questions for Yeslam or me in there. I'd love to hear, you know, about where you are at on your cybersecurity journey, so to speak, and would happily give advice on pathways for anyone who wants it. And again, you know, if anyone has any certifications, I can tell you about credit too. But here are some options. Get the credit assessment. You know, you can just go to the Am I Eligible link. Check out all of our short courses. You know, there's a 20 or 30 of them there, and there's some really good content. Like I love them. I think they're fantastic. And yeah, absolutely reflect on which pathway suits you best. It's, you know, there's no point doing something that won't get you where you want to go. So come up with a clear goal, talk to us about it, and then we'll just go and do it. And finally, I should plug the next short course. It's called Detecting and Defending Against Cyber Threats. We're going to look at some really cool stuff, and we're going to get our hands dirty, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to be delivered by a mentor who does a subject called Cyber Warfare and Terrorism, and it's just going to be great. So look out for the information on that one.